Hello everybody and welcome back to the Petri Dish. We are here in Chicago and I am with Mark. And Mark, what brings you to VeeamON here?
Sure. So Mark Summer, I'm the Director of Sales for North America for Software-Defined Storage at Suse. And we're here to sponsor the event and get messaging out about what we can do as far as a target for Veeam, Veeam products.
Well, that's a nice simple segue. So how does your product and your OS, frankly, work with Veeam, and how do you guys integrate? And because there's a lot of different ways. People talk about backup and recovery. It's like, okay, that's great. We need to back up and recover. And then once you start digging in, there's so many things you can do. You can use Veeam, there's other products, but then you need a target for it. And so how do you guys fit into that whole ecosystem?
Sure. Well, back up first, right? So what we have is software-defined storage based on Ceph, which is open source storage.
Okay.
So what that is, it's true petabyte to exabyte grade, enterprise grade storage, fully software-defined, self-healing, self-managing. So with Veeam, we'd be a target for the back end. So Veeam would manage everything, data coming in, and then it would target to us.
Okay.
Once it's on our storage array, it's going to be an object. That object is replicated and managed and auto-balanced across the cluster itself. So very easy to upgrade the cluster, very easy to manage it, very easy to expand it.
Gotcha. And just to clarify, are you guys more on the software side or more on the hardware side?
So 100% software,
Yep.
But we have reference architecture for all the major x86 vendors, so it's on x86.
Gotcha. And then so if somebody wants to get started with you guys, how does this whole process work? Because it's, okay, I'm a Veeam customer and I'm looking for a target. What's the next step in that journey?
Yeah, there are a couple different ways, right? So we're a channel-driven company, so you can come through a channel partner, come directly to us, and we can help build the architecture and work directly with Veeam and put it together for them. Really, we need to know how much data they have, what's the growth ratio for it, growth rate, and then we can help build a solution based on the hardware of their choice. Completely hardware agnostic, right? So we separate from the hardware layer completely. So if they want to bring in, Super Micro versus Lenovo versus HP, we're completely agnostic to it all.
Gotcha. And then so how does that work in, say, like a hybrid scenario? Because a lot of companies aren't, well, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's 100% on-prem, or on-premises, but a lot of companies are hyper-converged, they span that gap. How does your product work in that type of environment?
Sure. Well, so we're more tier 2, tier 3 storage, right?
Okay.
So this is large bulk data. So archive, backup, private cloud use cases, Hadoop lookup, stuff like that, right? So we're not going to run in a hyper-converged environment. We're going to run more of a converged backend for large data sets.
Gotcha. So. And so the question that as soon as you guys are all open source, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And so how does licensing work? Because you guys are open source, and how does the business model evolve?
Sure. Yeah, it's very simple. So instead of charging on a per terabyte level, we charge on a per server level. So as you add a server, you're just adding one license we call it per node.
Okay.
So very, very easy to manage, very easy to scale that way.
Gotcha. And so then it's just, I mean, I was about to say, I was trying to think of a trick question to ask you, but because licensing, as you know, could be kind of crazy depending on your product and your company and all that stuff.
Especially if they're charging on per terabyte or gig level, right? So we avoid that completely by doing the per node.
Yep. And then sometimes you get even companies charging by per core inside the server, which that gets to be insane when you start talking about virtual cores. Anyways, moving on. So backup and recovery is your jam. What trends are you seeing in the industry right now?
Good question, right? So a lot of companies are moving towards anything software-defined, right? The full software-defined data center.
Okay.
So coming in with a private cloud solution, really what this is, it kind of hits the sweet spot. It's the fastest-growing product in Suse right now.
Oh, really?
Hitting a very good marketing trend. Right
sure.
Now. So.
It's interesting. The only reason I was somewhat, I guess, shocked is that when you think of backup and recovery, it's always just kind of like I don't want to say like a meh, it's like a yesterday type thing, but the fact that that is your fastest growing business obviously shows that one, there is a need in this environment, absolutely, and two, that if it's growing for you guys, you must be doing something better than some of your competitors. And so what is your competitive advantage?
So competitive advantage really is easy use, ease of installation, ease of management, very, very simplified reference architecture for all our partners, and really low cost, right? So we're going to be, pennies on pennies versus, dollars, right? So it's a very low cost solution for bulk data. So the largest data sets in the world are based on this technology. So if you start looking at customers with 500 petabytes, exabyte level data, it's all based on the same technology we're running based on Ceph.
Gotcha. So kind of a business question here. Who is your target client? Are you guys primarily more in the enterprise grade, high-end scale? Do you scale all the way down to the SMB, or where do you guys fall into the market?
So really, anybody that has at least 100 terabytes of backend storage is really our primary target. So as the data sets get larger, our product actually goes faster, so which is very unique to the industry. So larger is better for us. So if they only have 100 terabytes total, probably not a good target, but if they have 100 plus and growing, they're a great target for us. So we scale SMB, commercial accounts all the way up to the enterprise accounts.
Gotcha. So I got to ask, how does your product get faster with more data?
It's the way it scales. So once the data is stored onto the cluster, it becomes an object. That object is completely abstracted from the hardware layer. And then as we add nodes, we're basically adding horsepower behind it. So as you add another server, you have more CPU behind it to help manage the data across the data set.
Gotcha. Interesting. And so without, I know you don't want to mention the names, what's your largest customer in terms of just pure data volume?
Probably the largest right now for us is about 30 petabytes.
It's a decent size.
It's not too bad.
That's a little bit.
And what we're seeing though is that there's so many opportunities coming to us that are at least 5, 10 petabytes right now. So that's, I mean, really where we start really, accelerating with cost advantage with everything else is when you get well over a petabyte. But as soon as you get to a petabyte, we're starting to see people saying, well, we have 10, we have 15. So it becomes a very big environment very fast.
Interesting. And what type of medium are they storing that kind of data on? Is it just the old spinning Rust, or what are you seeing these days?
It depends on the use case. So if you're doing deep archive, you're going to run very slow spinning drives. If you're going to run more of a closer to tier 1 application, because you can use for primary storage as well. Then you're going to run flash drives, right? So it depends on how you want to do it. And the nice thing about the product is you can create storage pools within it. So if I have a 10 petabyte cluster, I can then define applications to what type of spinning or flash drives I want within the cluster. So I can create data pools within the same cluster itself.
Gotcha. So, and so does this all work inside of Veeam, or how do you guys branch out outside of Veeam?
So this is all within us, right? So when you're with Veeam, Veeam's going to control the software coming in, or the data coming into it, right? So that's going to be the front end ISV for us.
Gotcha. Okay, so
storage is a target.
That's the true relationship. I think you've told me that 3 times already, and for some reason it took the 3rd time for it to click. And so, what else are you guys doing in the industry? What are you guys hanging out? You're here in Chicago. What's next for you all?
It's really expansion to the enterprise accounts, right? So Suse is mostly over in Europe, so that's our primary area. The U.S. market is growing 20 to 30% per year-over-year growth right now. So expansion in the enterprise accounts is really what we've been doing.
Yeah. And this is a little bit of a tangent about what we're talking about, but I write a lot about Microsoft, and you guys are available as in the Windows subsystem for Linux now, inside of Windows 10, so you guys can go and grab the green bits.
Right.
And
very tight relationship with Microsoft.
Yeah. That's just been, I don't know, I'm curious about your opinion about that, because Microsoft obviously has been the anti-Linux for, how long have they been around? For 20, 30 years. And I'd say in the past 5 years or so, they've really opened those doors. I'm curious on your opinion on all this.
It's a trend across the industry. So Linux, everybody's moving towards a Linux solution right now. And really open source is the foundation of many products, many enterprises. Microsoft is a great partner of ours, and very, very tight integration, as is SAP, right? So very tight integration with us as well. And Veeam, right?
Very cool. If people want to find you, what's the best way to reach out? What's your contact info? If people have questions, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, you can email me, right? So it's msummer@suse.com. I manage North America, so I have local reps in most of the regions.
Oh, very cool.
So you can reach out to me directly, and I can refer you to the local rep, or I can help directly.
Cool. Well, very much appreciate you stopping by for another episode of the Petri Dish. You can find out more information at petri.com, where this video will be posted. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you.